Today, is it time to park the boat? Hello again, it's Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics, working on the latest post covering finance and property news with a distinctively Australian and New Zealand perspective. And today I'm joined again by Joe Wilkes, the property expert. Hello, Joe.
Hi, Martin.
Now, there is a bit of an interesting thing going on with toys.
Yeah, it's I don't know how to describe it. It's things that you start to spot when you enter the start of a tighter credit environment. We talked about the cuts in the official cash rate. When you start to see things become a bit tighter in an economy, and Eddie Hobbs will have mentioned this from his Ireland experience. John, I think, is starting to see this occurring in the Australian market, and I've seen it before in the UK market. What you find is that the discretionary or luxury end of things that you don't really need but you have to have when everything's rosy, those things start to become less important when you start thinking a little bit more about whether or not the income that's been coming in is going to be the same as the income that you might have coming in moving forward. And this is all part of I suppose, a preparation for tighter times that households naturally make when they start to wake up to the reality that things might not be as good as they have been. The reason that I thought I'd mention it today is because when I was in the UK and we started seeing it really in the estate agency world at the end of 2007, so actually no, probably 2006, 2007, people were starting to find things a little bit tighter. And what was happening is that there was less spending going on in shops, so business owners were starting to see reduced incomes. They're often very successful people, they often do very well, and they like the baubles of that success to show to their mates. 2006, 7, 8, we started to see these people started to offload things. So they may have had a residence that they purchased in our market where they were living there a couple of days a week because it was convenient for where they were having business meetings. They might have had a boat that they bought for the use on 3 weekends a year. The Bentley that the developers seem to love Bentleys. I don't know why. So that was their mode of choice. I think obviously there was a big thing in the early 2000s. It must have been the Irish developers started it. But once you had a Bentley, that was it. Everybody else had to have a Bentley. Otherwise you weren't a successful developer. So the Bentley started getting put up for sale. And we're talking 140, 150,000 pound cars that were 18 months old, and people were having to offload them. They were choosing to offload them for 40, 50,000 quid. We're taking quite big hits on them. Now, I thought I'd mention this because this weekend I was up in the Gold Coast, and I stayed in a very nice hotel. We went to see a family wedding. I had a couple of business meetings on Thursday and Friday, and then again on Monday. And the Gold Coast, first of all, the hotel was very quiet. The wedding party was there, but on bank holiday weekend, you'd have expected a few other guests to be visiting. And I would say the occupancy was about 10% of an 800 room resort. So that in its sign, I know it's not your summer, and winter's really terrible on the Gold Coast. So I wish I had a winter like that. I wish I had a summer like that in England. But it was quiet. And I went to a place called Sanctuary Cove, which I don't know if you know. And there's a lot of money there. You could see that the cars are out in force. A lot of Ferraris. Saw a couple of McLarens, believe it or not, which were just parked up by the side of the restaurants. That's all very well and good. People out there enjoying their weekend. But what I also noticed was there's an awful lot of other things going on. There's an awful lot of boats in the harbour that are for sale. Probably over 40% of those that I saw were on the market. Now, they may or may not be a desperate sale, but somebody's choosing to offload them. So I decided to go in and see the boatman, and I had a chat with the boatman, and I'm quite direct, as you know, Martin. First question I asked him was buyer's market, seller's market. And he looked at me and he was quiet. And I said, look, I'm not looking at buying a boat at the moment. I probably never buy a boat. And I heard from somebody once, Martin, that second best day of your life is the day that you buy a boat, and the best day of your life is the day you sell it. But anyway, so I saw this boat guy, and I got into a really nice conversation. He was very open. He said, look, we were selling these incredible rates for the last 3-4 years. The volumes of sales is down now. I said, well, what's happening to prices? He goes, there's been little movement on the prices at the moment. So things are still selling at what they might have done 12, 18 months ago. But there are a lot more people now who are looking to sell them. So the volume of stock there is increasing. And that's something that you will see, I think, with, people want to monitor car sales, luxury car sales. If you look on over here, we've got Trade Me. So I don't know if you have an auto trader over in Australia, but if you look at the luxury car end, you'll possibly start to see a few people getting rid of the things that aren't absolutely necessary anymore. The other thing that I noticed from Sanctuary Cove was taking a walk around the golf course and the areas that are sort of bordering. They've got some nice 3-bedroom semi-detached houses. There's quite a lot of 4-bedroom holiday homes, and I'm presuming that they're not lived in all the time. But I went down a couple of roads, and I would say that probably 1 in 4 houses was for sale. Didn't see any sold boards up, and to be honest with you, I didn't go and drive around like I have done in Auckland. But these are nice areas. They're nice weekend retreats. They're nice places that if you wanted to go and escape for a few days or have a break, they'd be very pleasant. But people are choosing not to. People are possibly choosing that they're not necessary now. So I think that you're going to see that happen over there, like we saw in the UK. The coastal holiday resorts where people were, they'd leveraged up off the family home and bought a weekender down in Whitstable or down on the Norfolk coast, down in Devon and Cornwall. Those things started to get sold, and because they're not convenient for work and for professional incomes in the cities, they tend not to have the same level of demand when things are starting to get cheaper in the cities. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in Australia and New Zealand. I think you're ahead of us still, but the toys are definitely not as important as they were. The other thing I think that people might just want to spot driving around, there's an increase around my area. I'm down in the southern part of the North Island. There is an increase now in small units, commercial buildings that are starting to pop up in greater numbers. I've got a chap, again, a DFA subscriber, who's been looking over in the Hawke's Bay, which is another sort of nice retirement place, straight holiday place in New Zealand. And what he's commenting on is that there's a lot of pubs now and restaurants that are changing the length of time that they're open. And this is a sign that things are changing. Disposable income isn't being spent at the same pace that it was. The pubs in the UK, at one point after our financial crisis, and it carried on for many, many years, they were closing at a rate of about 300 a week. Now, we haven't seen major pub closures in New Zealand at the moment, but what we are starting to see is hours where previously they might open on 7 days a week. Monday and Tuesdays are now being dropped. There are other pubs in the area that I'm looking at where things that were open from 11 o'clock in the morning, serving lunch and then operating all the way through till 11 o'clock at night, they're now opening from 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock. So this has an impact on what you're talking about, the employment, also the hours of employment that people have to go and spend their own money in the economy. So we're starting to see that. It's not happening everywhere. There's a few more coffee shops available in places like Auckland, so people are trying to sell the coffee shops. And coffee is a discretionary spend. I make a very nice coffee at home, so I never worry too much about the discretionary spend. But these are the little marginal things that people don't have. So if the lower income earners won't be spending on those things, the higher income earners will be thinking about the toys.
Hi. Excuse the interruption, but if you are getting value from this post, please consider subscribing to DFA if you haven't already done so, or ring that bell for custom alerts. Plus, please consider supporting our efforts. You can make a one-off donation via PayPal, here's the link, or subscribe via Patreon for as little as $3 US. a month or more to get access to exclusive additional content. The links are in the comments below. And thanks for supporting what we do. It's really appreciated and makes it possible for us to continue to make more great content. Yeah, well, it's certainly the same that I'm seeing around here in my local area, and I've moved around to a few other areas around Sydney, and there are more for sale signs on cars, caravans, the watercraft.
Yep.
All signs that I didn't see 2 or 3 years ago. And
is it like over here where they just park up and like you get whole roads where you get caravan boat, caravan luxury car, well, we're starting to see that, and it's more the caravans and the boats at the moment. Yeah, and what's interesting is a lot of these sort of things for sale are actually standing outside relatively newly constructed and newly purchased properties on the new estates. Yeah, well, this sounds like the Northern Rock lending that we saw pre-crisis, where you could buy the new house, but there might be a little bit more to help you furnish it, and that often got spent on a boat or a car or something that wasn't really furnishings. The whole dynamic seems to be changing, and I think that the Reserve Bank Governor's decision the day before yesterday to cut the official cash rate. That's because he's very, very, very worried, I think, about the level of spending. We have got CPI running at the lowest rate it's been running for a long, long time. There'll be a lot of businesses out there who should be preparing for this, and if you are in one of those companies, you need to start thinking about how you're positioning yourself to your market. If you're selling spas, if you're selling swimming pools, if you're selling the little add-ons that are lovely but they're not necessary, you need to really start focusing on how you position yourself against competition. This is something that I've been working on with a few clients to try and assist them. And I'll just give you 2 quick thumbnail sketches to end this conversation. I was talking to somebody who runs a mobile dog washing service. So they rock up outside your house with a little thing that you put your dog in, and they wash them, right? Yeah. And they were saying that 2 years ago they were so busy they were working literally 7 days a week, right? They're now working 3 days a week, and they're not getting enough work, right? Bloody hell. But do people not have a hose pipe in the garden? Discretionary spend, mate. Discretionary spend, right? And the other one is that there are a couple of local gardeners, right, who basically just go around and mow the local lawns and those sorts of things, right? And I had 2 separate conversations with them because I happened to see them work, when I take the dogs for a walk. And both of them said that in the last 6 months or so in the area around here, they've had to go from relatively 5 days to 6 days to 2 days. Yeah. Because there is just not enough demand for those types of services now. People don't have the money. And I think that these early indicators, just tightening up on discretionary spending and not spending so much at the shops and not taking those coffees and those sorts of things, selling your toys, these are all leading indicators of financial pressure that we're seeing in spades. And I suspect we're going to see this play out over the next couple of years. It's not going to be pretty. No, it's going to be a challenge. I mean, the European experience, there was a lot of people who refinanced houses in the UK and bought properties in places like Spain and Portugal. And I suppose we contributed largely to their property crash because that's where, if you're going to buy a holiday home, in my opinion, if you live in the UK, there's no point buying it on the Norfolk coast. You may as well buy it in Spain. But we magnified their property bust. We're going to see some interesting times, and it's blatantly obvious. It's not being talked about. The news the other day, I could have, to be fair, I wanted to phone them up and say, look, can I come on just so I can explain to everybody why the governor has cut the cash rate? He's not doing it because he wants to help first-time buyers get into home. He's doing it because he's desperate to get first-time buyers buying, and that credit flowing around the rest of the economy. So. Yep. Think about it. If you're out there and you're starting to spot these things, and you think, well, why would that happen? Then hopefully this provides a little bit of a reason. Yeah, watch for the signs is what I'd say. Watch for the signs. Joe, thank you very much. Good to see you, Martin. See you next time. Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye. That's a really important message from Joe, I think, with regards to the leading indicators of potential financial stress ahead. And we're certainly measuring that through our mortgage stress data in Australia, but in New Zealand, perhaps a proxy is the sale of toys
and other discretionary items. I'm Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Many thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.